Hey everyone,
Hello.
thanks for being here. So we thought in this video that we would talk about some of the things that we've learned after a year living in the bus, because that is how long we've been living in the bus.
Yeah, we just hit a year on the 28th, which was last week. We hope to get this video up sooner, but meeting up with friends and stuff in Colorado took priority.
Yeah, and 28th of September was.
What did I say?
You didn't. You were right. You just didn't say the month.
Oh.
So yeah, 28th of September was a year, and we're excited to talk about some of the things that we've learned after. I mean, a year is a pretty big milestone. We feel really happy that we've gotten to this point, and so we wanted to kind of talk about what that was like.
Yeah, we made it.
We made it, and at the end we have a big announcement. So stay tuned for that. So we were gonna go down a list, and again, Tiffany really likes countdowns. I always want to go from 1 to 15.
And I always wanted
She wants to go 15 to 1.
But you won this time.
Which is, I did?
Yeah, this is how we put it out.
Yes.
But I like countdowns. Anyway, doesn't matter. We have 15 things for you that we've learned after a full year of living in a skoolie.
Yeah.
Number 1, working from the road has been relatively easy, but it has come with its own set of challenges.
Yeah, we started off having I had a lot of issues with it. I didn't know where to put a lot of my time because it was so organized. We had to make new habits really quickly. And when you're getting used to a brand new vehicle and a totally different way of life, it can really throw you out of gear. But after we got acclimated, it started to become a lot easier. And partially because we had cell service and data service more often than we thought we really would.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. But those few times when we didn't have cell service, it did become so much harder. I even unfortunately let a couple deadlines kind of slip because I wasn't able to check my email every day, and I wasn't on top of it as organized as I needed to be. So that's a change that I definitely had to make. I needed to say, hey, we're going into town to run this errand, to get groceries or whatever. I'm going to have cell service. Let me write down everything that needs to be done and when it needs to be done so that I don't lose track of all that.
Exactly. Yeah. No, and we ended up in some places spending more money because we would have maybe okay cell service, or we would run out of data because our hotspots are our main source of internet access on our computers. So sometimes we would lose that, we'd run out of that, and we'd need to go somewhere to get signal. But sometimes the only place is like a restaurant, and so like, all right, well, we're not going to be those people that go in and not buy something. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, like the place I'm thinking of, we went to this Chinese place a lot in Island Park, and it was delicious. Idaho, yeah. In Island Park, Idaho. It was so good. So it was a nice excuse to get some, like, sesame chicken.
Yeah, but it did, sometimes it made us spend money or, get ready to leave the bus when we didn't necessarily want to do that. So It was a treat sometimes, and it was a burden sometimes, but it definitely made us spend more money, and that was... you're trying to make money. That's why you need the internet.
Yeah. So, and we're not to the point yet where we're really calling those business expenses. We're looking for an accountant that can kind of help us out, figure out the best ways we can use the bus and track things like mileage and feel good about it, because we just don't know how to start. We don't know how to separate the two. Life and work, they're really one and the same. So I don't know. We're working on that.
Well, and just real quick, a few specifics about working on the road, in case this is helpful for somebody. Like you said, we're working off hotspots pretty often. So we have 2 phones that we use hotspots on. We have one
dedicated hotspot.
And then recently we decided, I use an iPad as a drawing tablet. We decided to activate cellular on that, so now we have 4 hotspots, and so far that's actually been getting us through the whole month.
Each with 15, I think, is it 15?
I'm not sure.
That sounds high for some reason, but I think each has 15 gigs of high-speed data available, and when one runs out, we can use the other one. Mm-hmm. They all can still access cellular after they run out of that hotspot data, but it's just high speed. But it does make a really big difference. But still, if you're in a pinch, you could use that to slowly send an email or look something up.
Yeah, and one of the big realizations we had recently is that it was only going to be another $20 a month to activate the iPad, and we were spending more than that way more than that, going to coffee shops and restaurants to get Wi-Fi.
After we didn't have data anymore.
Yeah, when we would totally run out of data. So we're hoping this is a smart move for us. So far, it's been good.
So far, it's been great.
So number 2, we felt safe.
Yeah.
That was one concern we had about a nomadic lifestyle, is that we might feel vulnerable out in the wild or camping in a parking lot or something. But I don't think there's really been one time that we felt like our safety was compromised.
No.
Right?
I don't think so. I mean, people that like to rob people aren't going to go to the middle of nowhere to find people to rob. I think if we were I find myself being more nervous in cities and on the outskirts of cities than being like out in like a forest or like a national forest or a state park or something like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it really hasn't been an issue. We haven't had, like, knock on wood, we haven't had like an instance where we felt threatened or anything. It's really been actually quite good.
Yeah, and to be fair, the dogs are a pretty good alarm system.
They are. So that gives us some confidence.
Definitely. And we have a little camera when we leave the bus that can be tripped by motion and will
sound an alarm and record footage of whoever it is.
And send it
text to the phone if we have service. So, like, if someone were to come in and they would find it or something, it still has that information, which is good. But yeah, we felt safe.
Number 3, we get asked about this a lot. People want to know what it's like living in a very small space. We're at like 180 square feet, I think, with your significant other. And I have to say it's been easy for us. It doesn't mean that it would be easy for everyone.
Yeah, I mean, we really haven't had too many issues. We haven't really fought much. If we do fight, we extinguish it quickly. We're not getting in each other's way all the time, and I think a lot of that is because we've been together since we were 14.
So it's been over 15 years now.
Yeah, exactly.
So we do get in each other's way sometimes. To be honest, like, one of the things that is hard about being in a tiny space with your significant other is just that if you have different ideas of what tidy is,
which we absolutely do.
That's
actually
the hardest part.
I think we agree on what tidy is. We just disagree on how often we can keep things that way.
Yeah, I don't know, but we are able to, get space from each other when we need it.
Well, and so we can, the bus is actually big enough so that if we needed space for whatever reason, Tiffany could be sitting up in bed working or something, and I could be in the front on the couch facing forward. We would have no idea each other is here.
Yeah.
It's not like we're right next to each other and all the time. We can separate ourselves, or even beyond that, one of us can take a drive or do something like that and have the other person still be here because we have 2 vehicles. So it really, as long as you make use of those tools to give yourself space when you can, and also when we drive separately right now, so that gives us some individual time. So all of those things, if we're taking advantage of, I think, really well, and because we've been together so long, I think it makes it a bit easier for us to be in a space like this, because it hasn't. I can echo that. It's been fine. Yeah.
Number 4 is a big one, I think, and that is, in this lifestyle, chasing good weather is crucial. Yeah. When you feel stuck somewhere that is too hot or too cold or whatever, it can really ruin your time.
Yeah, because if it's cold outside, it's cold in here. If it's hot outside, it's hot in here. You have some control over in both directions, but not much. Especially since we left all our windows in. We love these windows. We love the light that it lets in, but it is a cost. It is a trade-off for insulation. So I think to to be the most comfortable, you kind of have to chase the weather a little bit, and it can be a little tough. Like if you, like for example, we wanted to shoot Milky Way stuff in Moab. Well, some of the best viewing for the Milky Way in North America is during like July. Well, July in the middle of Utah, and particularly Moab, gets pretty warm.
Yeah, while we were there, the highs were like 100 regularly.
Yeah.
And that wasn't very fun, you know? And if you've been following us for a while, you saw our time in South Dakota where we would wake up and see our breath in the morning. Mm-hmm. And that wasn't exactly fun either, you know?
Yeah.
But we have found places, sometimes we do it right, and sometimes the weather surprises you, and you can't plan for it. But we have stayed, like when we stayed in Idaho, we stayed there for 2 months, and the weather was amazing,
fantastic,
you guys.
the entire
like,
time.
Yeah, like highs of 70s, lows of 40s, like just that sweet spot.
Yeah.
When you find it, you really appreciate it more because you were in that heat or in that cold for a while. So.
And because we have control, like we can, to a degree, we'll talk about this more later, but to a degree we have altitude as a temperature gauge, as a thermometer. Because we can, you know, if we need to, we can take some distance and go a bit higher, and that'll cool things off a bit. We can go lower. There are things that you can do to chase that weather and to be comfortable more often, but it is like, you know, if you have to be in Salt Lake City in July and August, that can be hot.
Yep.
and you feel it.
Oh yeah.
And with animals too, it becomes a big thing. So, you know, you can be uncomfortable and you can be okay with that. You just want to make sure they're not just comfortable, or not just like staying alive,
just surviving,
but also comfortable.
Yeah.
And we've been able to do that so far, and it hasn't been a problem. Number 5, finding free campsites has been easier than we thought it was going to be. It is not too difficult out west to find places to stay, whether it's forest, national forests,
BLM,
state parks, BLM.
Well, state parks aren't free.
Well, no, but they tend to be pretty inexpensive, and so between free places and inexpensive places, it has not been an issue the entire year that we've been doing this. We haven't not been able to find a place to stay.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of that is because we like to be out in the wild and boondock more than anything. Like, we haven't connected to city water almost this entire time, except just to refill our tanks. And the solar's been great, which we'll talk about a little later. So we haven't had to go into the cities much, and cities make it a lot more difficult. But when you're out in the country and around places that a lot of people go to, like, because it's beautiful, there are a lot of things there for travelers and RVers, so you don't really have to search too hard, right?
Right, and we've actually found a pattern that works really well for us, at least. We'll try to stay at a free campsite for... Frankie wants back up. We'll try to stay at a free campsite for the maximum time, whether that's 10 days, sometimes it's 16 days, depending on, what kind of land it is. She just can't stand it. Okay. We found that we like to stay the maximum time at a free campsite and then go find a paid campsite for just 1 or 2 nights where we can fill up water, use their facilities. Sometimes we time it well, like if we know it's going to be rainy for a few days and our solar may not be great, we go to a paid campsite and use their electrical hookups and stuff.
Yeah.
And that's worked really well for us. So the other thing is, so the other thing is that we found that finding free campsites is easy, and we've also learned what kind of paid campsites we like to use the most.
Yeah, that's true.
And that's state parks,
yep.
Because they tend to be cheaper and prettier than like an RV park where you're usually right next to each other. Yeah. And U.S. Army Corps of Engineer sites, which is, we're at one of those right now. You can get really good rates at those, like $20 and under a night.
And they have good facilities. Some are totally free. We stayed at a U.S. Army Corps of Engineers site in Texas that was totally free, and it was gorgeous, gorgeous site. When 2 of them there were still free, but had full hookups.
Yeah.
Which
of course,
that
those were
doesn't-
taken, but
Yeah, but that doesn't even make sense to me. But
Yeah.
that's theirs, and they exist. So they're not everywhere, but they, when you come across them, you kind of find the places that you like to stay.
Yeah.
Which has been a good thing.
All right, number 6 is a big one. Having 2 vehicles has been great. We have loved that. I mean, it comes with its downsides too, but to be able to get the bus situated, especially in a spot that we know we're going to be for the full 2 weeks, we settle in, we can have everything out, and then we can just take the car everywhere, and it's fantastic.
It's been a really good mode of travel. I think we've really liked it because, again, we've said it a few times from the beginning. We didn't necessarily we didn't want to constantly have to be moving.
Yes.
And being somewhere that you're comfortable and you really like to be for 2 weeks, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to constantly travel for 2 weeks. You can stay put and, I don't know, maybe enjoy the area that you're in and actually spend a little time to understand it better and experience it more. That was what we were most excited about from the very beginning, and it has worked out very well. It has been what we've wanted it to be. We've stayed months within 10 miles of each other a couple times because we love an area so much, and we have time. That's the thing. I mean, we're not in a rush to see everything. We have plans to go to Alaska next year. We're not in a mad dash to get up there. We're not in a mad dash to see these things because we know that we have the time to enjoy a certain area, and we're not just stressed like, okay, we need to see this, and move on. Saying, let's take our time. Let's enjoy it. Let's live here for a little while and not just visit here for a little while. Yeah,
that's been great. And by having 2 vehicles, we've been able to, go really explore that area, and it's not such a big deal. If you want to go check out a trailhead or a little national park that's an hour away or something, you don't have to take the bus everywhere, and that's been fantastic.
It's been good. On the other side, there are some logistical issues. We do spend more gas with 2 vehicles, of course.
Well, I don't know. That's questionable because if we were, every time we needed groceries or something, taking the bus, we might be spending as much.
That's possible. I think it's closer than a lot of people would think, but I think the slight edge would go to a single vehicle.
Maybe so.
Because the diesel's 10 miles a gallon, and diesel is more costly than gas is. So a single gas vehicle versus 1 gas, 1 diesel, I still give the edge to the other. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
I think if we were in 1 vehicle, if we were only in the bus and didn't have the car, I think we would not run errands as often. No. We'd have to be more, and maybe this would be a good thing, we'd have to be more organized and strategic about going to get, we'd have to know how much dog food we have left and what groceries we need and do all that at once instead of just kind of casually like, hey, you feel like getting out today? Yeah, let's.
And because we can, we'll just hop in the Subaru. Like sometimes we're 20 miles away from the nearest city, kind of like where we are right now. And so we're like, oh, well, I needed these things. And we're like, okay, well, let's get out and we'll take the Subaru and we'll go get that thing and come back. And that's not always a good thing. You want to limit those long trips and have, because that's a lot of burn gas and time and all that kind of stuff.
But on the flip side of that, sometimes it's nice to be able to get out of your space for a little bit and it not be that big of a deal.
That's true. So it has its strengths and weaknesses. We would like to be able to ride together, have the option of riding together, but it has also been nice using that alone time between travel days.
Yeah.
So I think it has more pluses than minuses, but yeah, it's balanced.
Yeah.
So number 7, solar has been adequate for what we've needed over the past year. We have a pretty modest setup. We have a modest solar system. If you've watched some of our equipment videos in the past, we use a Yeti 1400 as the main source of power for everything. We also have a Yeti 400 that powers a couple things, and no, Goal Zero is not the perfect answer to everything. A lot of people have very strong opinions about Goal Zero. We have loved it. It has really worked out well for us. The 1400 watt hours are good for just about everything. It constantly powers our fridge. We could go at least a week, I think, just powering nothing but the fridge. without any additional solar. The main power draws are our laptops, and so sometimes if it's been cloudy for 2-3 days, we won't feel comfortable draining a lot of the 1400, so that's when we might go to like a coffee shop or something to do some work and charge up there, as well as have internet, as well as just get out of the space for a little while. So we've been able to adapt to the size of our power banks and our solar, but we haven't had to do much. Most of the time, particularly in the summer, of course, we get great solar, and most days we end it at either 100% or high 90s. And I think we've only gotten down to below 50% like once, maybe.
I think that's right.
And that was in the winter.
Right now it's pretty rainy and cloudy outside, and we're already down to 82%. I'm hoping we'll get a little.
But we're actually
more
generating power right now. We're getting, even though it's a really cloudy day, we're
getting
pulling
something.
in something. So, and it's gone up 2%, and it's been like this basically all day. So it's always pulling in power. We don't have a ton of electric appliances, and we did that by design. We don't want a bunch of stuff unnecessarily taking up energy. We want that saved for the important things like the stuff we use for work. And it's worked out. It's been really good. And we haven't had to plug in. We've maybe plugged
Very
in
rarely.
maybe twice. Maybe no more than 4 times the entire year, I think.
Yeah, even when
I
we're
think that's
paying for a campsite, we usually don't plug in because we don't need to.
We like right here, we could be plugged into just a wall outlet,
And by the way, this is a site with water and electric, and it's only $10 a night because we have a National Parks Pass,
it gets you half
which
off
is really awesome.
at U.S. Army Corps of Engineer sites. So take advantage of those.
Yeah, and I also wanted to add that solar has been one of my favorite things about bus life. Like,
So
how cool is it that, like, we can be anywhere and generating electricity on most days.
Our businesses are seriously powered from the sun. Like everything we use is powered from the sun, and that is really cool.
Yeah.
It's really, really
There's
interesting.
a sense of pride there when you're next to a camper that's boondocking, that's running a generator. And I think having a generator is a good idea, but I just don't understand why more RVs don't have solar. Like,
it is expensive, but so are these RVs, and so are these generators.
But it's an upfront cost, and then
it's true because you don't have to continue buying fuel for.
Right.
But whatever, we don't want to get into all that. That's another video.
I will say,
we love solar. I have developed a hatred for generators because we'll be boondocking, and sometimes somebody will pull up not too far away from us, and we have to listen to a generator over, sounds of like the wind blowing and birds chirping and the reasons why we like being outside. There's just this constant hum, like 30, not 30, but like, maybe 100 yards away, and it's there and you hear it, and it's a reminder that you're not in nature the best that you could be. And it's just, I get it. I get why people use them. It's a good thing to have. We don't have one. We haven't needed one. It's a good thing to have. But I've gotten salty about them.
I don't feel as strongly, but it does kind of put a little bit of a damper on.
And I'm not like that all the time. I never talk to someone about it. But it's just like.
And I also want to say there's been we've had neighbors pull up close to us wild camping and be like, "Do you mind if we run our generator?" Cool. Of course not. Like, if you do what you have to do, but obviously I'd rather
not hear it.
I'd rather not hear it, and when I see other rigs with solar, I get really excited because I think we're moving forward.
It just makes too much sense.
Yeah.
It just makes too much sense. Sorry, it just does. Okay.
Number 8 is a big one. We meet awesome people on the road.
Yeah, we really have. We've met a lot of really great people, whether they were people we already knew or not, just total strangers that we started talking to, and have really enjoyed their company, to people that we've been talking to online for a long time and finally have had a chance to meet up. It's been really cool. It's a really, really great community of really, really neat people. There's hardly much more to say about it than that. TR we met up with in Idaho and taught us how to fly fish. We have a new skill now that we didn't have before.
We met up with Cattywampus.
Cattywampus while we were...
who gave us pickled okra.
Yeah, that was great.
Which was like a nice southern, just a really southern gift. It makes me miss home a little bit. We met up with Living Zeal a couple times, which was awesome.
That was fun.
And we got to meet Gone with the Winds last week,
Yeah.
which was mind-blowing to us because we've been following them seriously for like 7 years now.
Yeah, when we, in our tour, when we say, you know, this young couple inspired us to kind of do what they were doing, it was Nikki and Jason that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So we've been following them for like 7 years. So it was cool. We got to meet up in Denver, and that was a really great time.
Yeah, we've met lots of cool people when we went to the few tiny house festivals that we went to.
Yeah.
And
we're probably missing a few people, but we've met a lot of really, really great people, and so that's been a lot of fun. And it's amazing how friendly people are. Even just like any of our neighbors right now, I'd feel pretty comfortable walking up to and start striking up a conversation. I think people are willing to talk about their experiences and share their knowledge, and it's not just the schoolie community. It's everyone that travels, kind of, that we all have to deal with the same stuff.
Yeah.
And so when you see someone that does the same thing, particularly full-timers, it's a very, I don't know, you bond a little bit over those struggles, and not just the struggles, but the things that you appreciate. Because everybody has different reasons for doing it, but a lot of them cross over, and so it's just been cool to see that.
Yeah, and this lifestyle has the potential to be very lonely. And I think that's one reason that it's great to be on social media is because a lot of those connections we've made have been online, and we've been following each other for a while and commenting on each other's posts, and then we realize that they're in the same area, and then we get together, and it's been awesome.
You already have so much in common, and you've already have a form of friendship, so it's way easier to pick up from there and hang out instead of just meeting someone for the very first time. Which still doable.
Yeah, we have met some people that way too. But that way you already know you have some things in common. You know a little bit about their story.
You know, and we don't want to say either like if you travel full time you have to have a YouTube and an Instagram.
No.
Like obviously people do this quite successfully without having any form of social media.
But
However,
it's a good way.
It is a tool to get in touch with the community, and you'll meet more people that way. I mean, that's just how it works.
Yeah. Number
9. Keeping the bus clean is a constant, never-ending battle.
It's true. Like, you would have to be cleaning crazy to keep this space looking good all the time. We do some form of cleaning every day, and it's still especially because Tuco sheds.
Oh, that's probably
the biggest
problem number 1.
Yeah.
And they do things like go outside and come back in
and bring mud in and stuff. So you can sweep, and like literally an hour later it can look like you did nothing. It's same like when you're getting work done and you're in the zone and you're putting all your gear out and stuff.
It gets cluttered really fast.
Yeah. And that's been a little bit of a struggle.
Yeah, but it's not been like if it gets too much, we all right, let's take an hour or two and do a deep clean, and that's about as long as it takes, and then we feel great afterwards.
True. Yeah, it's great that think about doing a deep clean in our 4-bedroom house. That would have been an all weekend type project, but in here it's maybe an hour or two, and you can get it looking pretty nice. I mean, you can even kind of get down in the corners and stuff in that amount of time if you want to. So it cleans up fast, but it gets dirty quickly too. So.
It gets dirty even faster.
Yeah, it's true. Number 10, traveling with the dogs has been pleasantly easier than we expected it to.
Yeah, if you look at our bus life expectations video, I think basically all of your concerns revolved around the dogs and how difficult it would be to travel with them, and we have found that not a single one of them has really been an issue. I mean, it's obviously would be a lot easier to travel without them, but traveling with them, we haven't run into places where they wouldn't allow dogs, really. We've been through a couple national parks, but we don't typically stay in national parks. We stay typically on the outside of national parks. And so that means that we can let the dogs out very easily without having to worry about regulations and things like that. And then when we go into the national parks, we can leave the dogs in the bus and feel pretty good about it. They have really adapted to the space quite well.
Yeah,
and,
they've gotten to where, like, when they're riding with me in the Subaru, they are super chill in the car, and then we can stop anywhere. Like yesterday, we stopped at a rest stop, and we were in between two semi trucks that were idling.
Yeah.
And I let the dogs pee, and then they wanted to go straight to the bus door, and they got in, and they immediately. Frankie started chewing on a toy, and Tuco sat on the couch and just looked out at people, and they've become super accustomed to this lifestyle, I think.
It did take them a little while.
It did.
It took a few months, but they finally, and they weren't like hating it, but you could tell that there was some instability. But they have really gotten used to it. This is home for them. We feel pretty confident, and that's a great thing. That's been really nice.
Yeah, I think when we made our 5 months video, they were definitely doing better than we expected, but they still weren't totally used to nomadic life, and now I really think they are. One of the big things that we purchased that has made Bus Life with Dogs easier, and we have a Bus Life with Dogs video, we'll put a card there too, is we have the camera we were talking about earlier that can be like a security system camera. It's also so we can watch the dogs when we leave them in here. And lately, as we've been watching them, we don't see them scream and bark nearly as often as they used to.
So it sounds weird. When we say scream, Frankie has really bad
Howl.
separation anxiety. And so when we leave, like, this was true when we were, basically her entire life, no matter what. If we lived in an apartment, if we lived in a house, if we live in a vehicle, doesn't matter. If Frankie is separated from Tiffany, she's going to howl at the top of her lungs until she just can't anymore. And that's it usually subsides in a couple minutes, and then she relaxes and she'll lay down. But that initial leaving is like not a good thing for her. She does not like that.
But lately, she hasn't even been doing that.
Yeah. In the bus, she started to stop, which is great.
Yeah, maybe she's finally maturing.
It's taken long enough.
I don't know. She's 10 now, so I think that's a lifelong thing for her. But she's a sweet girl. We love our puppies, and that's why a lot of our concerns surrounded the dogs is because they're our babies, and we were worried that they would hate it, but. You know, it was weird for them at first, but they're totally used to it, and I think they've gotten to where they even enjoy it.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, they definitely get they get to smell a lot of interesting things.
And pee on a lot of interesting things.
And pee on so many things. I mean, so great. Number 11, it's never as bad as you think it's going to be. That sounds a little weird, but it kind of goes back to what we were talking about in our last 15 Things video, our 5-month video, was that worry is wasted energy. And I talked about in that last video that my state of mind coming from South Dakota to Alabama, that first trip that we were on, I worried all the time. My mental state was not the best. I was constantly stressed out throughout the past year. If we're like driving through a city or something, and you know it can be a little stressful driving a big vehicle, staying together. Tiffany doesn't drive much and doesn't enjoy going through cities, so it can lead to some anxiety, sometimes particularly on travel days, but every time we go out and every time we get started, it always just chills out, and it's never as bad as we think it is.
Yeah, there's some anxiety surrounding travel days. I think the day before, or in the morning of, when we're getting the bus ready to go, we just feel a little on edge, but every time, once we get on the road, it's fine. It's even fun and better than we think it's going to be. Number 12 is kind of related, and that's that you can get used to just about any situation.
Yeah.
It took us a while, and we talked about this in our last video like this. There was a hump, for us to get used to nomadic life. And I think, honestly, for us, one of the biggest factors in us getting over that hump was being forced to kind of stay still for a while when we were visiting family. Now, still is relative because we were going between three different cities that were pretty far away in Alabama. So it's not like we were stationary for 2 months, but we were like stationary for like a month at a time, and then maybe 2 weeks at my mom's house, and then a week at my dad's house, and you just kind of doing that. But that time was crucial for us to
decompress and process.
I think taking breaks is crucial, because this is a big life change, or it was.
Especially early. I think because we were going through a lot, and I know I was. I can't speak for both of us.
Oh,
but I
no,
know
me
that,
too.
I know that, I did not know what to do on some days, and having some time to be stationary and process what just happened, feel comfortable being at family's place, and not having to worry about a lot of the things that you have to worry about on the road. Having a little bit of time to just be like, what just happened?
Yeah, to process the stability.
And then to come to the conclusion that you want it again. Yeah. And that you know that it can be better, and that you know that the ability to travel is what you want to do. Mm-hmm. That's the conclusion that we came to, and so we were like, all right, well, good, let's get ready to head out again.
Yeah, we had time to reflect and think about what it is that we could improve upon in the next chapter of our nomadic journey. And like you said, really it solidified that we wanted this lifestyle.
Exactly.
So
that was a good thing.
It was great. That brings us into number 13, and that is nomadic life we've decided is right for us.
Yeah, we love it. I mean, it's not always easy. It
took some getting used to. Definitely not always easy. Yep. But like after a year doing this, we don't want to stop. No,
I don't see us stopping anytime soon.
I could see us living on the road for the foreseeable future, you know.
At least, yeah.
At least for now, like we don't see us settling down anytime soon.
Because there's so much we haven't seen, and we haven't. It's certainly, we've found that over the past year it is sustainable, and the way that we're running our businesses and our mode of travel right now, it is sustainable, and that's a big thing after a year to come to the conclusion of, like, to realize, and so that's great. We're comfortable. Because like Tiffany was saying, it goes into the last one. You can get used to just about everything, and we've certainly gotten used to working on the road, and
we're very comfortable in this space.
Yeah. Almost a little too comfortable, really, because we can, like, what's nice is that on days like today, it's rainy, it's cloudy, dreary, you don't want to really be outside anyway. We have no problem spending all day in the bus and not getting out. Like, we have things to do in here. We have great cell service, so we can work. We can cook in here. We have everything. We have everything we need.
And more. We found that we have more space than we need, really.
Yeah, exactly. Like from the hearth up, the dogs stay up there. Sometimes Tuco's up there right now. But we hardly ever sit up there. We're always in like this space.
In the bedroom.
Yeah. So I don't know. You can get used to things very quickly, and we've found that there is a little bit more than we really need. Yeah. Interestingly enough.
Number 14 is an interesting one. The bus does have its limitations.
It does, yeah. So this kind of goes into chasing weather. When we were in Moab this year in July, it was hot. It was like 110. No, it wasn't that hot yet.
It's like 100.
It got there this year, but it was like 100 when we were there pretty often. The La Salle Mountains, so if you watch our Moab video, we'll throw another card in, you'll see the La Salle Mountains that are right next to Moab, and they're tall mountains. They're snow-capped in July, and the difference in temperature from Moab to, like 10,000 feet is pretty significant.
It's like it was 20, 25 degrees cooler up there.
Yeah, and which was way more bearable than the 100 in the bus, and the bus was just cooking. Like, we'll have the swamp cooler on, and it was helping take the edge off. But man, when if it's 100 degrees in the bus, that swamp cooler is going to do a little bit, but it's not going to do a whole lot.
Yeah, we've kind of found...
and think about it all day.
True. We found that the swamp cooler is most effective when you're in the 90s, but when you get up past 95, it's not doing a whole lot, and it uses a lot of water.
A ton of water.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how much water this thing uses. And that's, if you don't have water in it, then nothing's evaporating, so nothing's being cooled. It has a great fan in it, so it's pushing air around, but that's hot air.
Right.
So not so great. So
while we were in Moab, we were getting too hot, and we were worried that the dogs were getting too hot. So we would all hop in the Subaru and crank the AC and drive around, and then we realized we could drive up the La Salles and get 20 degrees cooler.
Yeah, and we did that a lot.
Yeah, and we were like, man, I wish we felt comfortable bringing the bus up here, but it's a really steep incline, tight switchback turns, and we probably could have done it, and we even saw some skoolies about halfway up the mountain, enough to get probably 10 degrees cooler, which would have been great, but we didn't feel comfortable taking the bus all the way up the mountain.
Yeah, I mean, it's our house, we don't want to put it through something that it really probably shouldn't go through, and we certainly don't want to have to do that often, and we just decided that we wouldn't do that, but it would have been wonderful if we could have. So, going up those really steep inclines, taking mountain passes, I will say that Diane's been amazing. Like, she's done everything we've asked her to do, and hasn't really complained, hasn't given us any issues. She's a slow girl. She takes her a while to go up the mountains. We went up over a Raton Pass the other day between Colorado and New Mexico, and I mean, it took us a while to get up there, but she did it.
But we made it, and we didn't overheat, and she's been a champ, and we're okay with the slow travel. But there's other things, though, that the bus has kind of kept us from doing.
Yeah.
Like, if there's a campsite we want to get to, but it's a really rough, bumpy road getting in, sometimes we'll choose a different one. Or if it's a campsite that's just literally too small for the bus.
Yeah. We haven't run into that too much.
No, but we have passed up maybe one or two really cool campsites that the bus just probably wouldn't fit in, or we weren't sure about.
That's true.
So the bus does have its limitations.
Yeah, and a lot of people take buses in a lot of different areas that we probably would never do it, and they come out fine.
Yeah.
But it's just like, for us and for our psyche and for our sanity, we're just like, that's too much of a risk.
Yeah.
Because, getting a tow out can be really difficult sometimes. Can take a lot of... You put yourself in some risky situations sometimes with a big vehicle like this. Fortunately, it hasn't happened too often, but there have been some instances where, if we can't go up this road to get to this campsite because the minimum length, or the maximum length, is like 20 feet. Well, we go past that 10 feet, so you can't really fudge that one.
Yeah, well, and there was a campground we wanted to stay at in Yellowstone where the maximum length was 25 feet, and so we couldn't stay there.
With a medium-sized bus like ours at 32 feet, we can get into most anywhere, but there are some, it's not like it's a 40-footer that, would be even more restricting in where you can go. But we still run into it occasionally.
And I also wanted to say that in our bus, we actually have really good clearance. So we have taken it down some pretty bumpy roads and been totally fine.
Yep.
But overall, we have babied the bus.
We have babied it, for sure. Yeah.
Number 15. Which will lead us into our announcement. We've decided that we could go smaller.
That's right. So, the bus is not necessarily too big for us, but it's more than we need.
Yeah, at first, when we moved into it, from a 4-bedroom house into less than 200 square feet, it felt tiny. But over time, it feels
huge. Enormous now.
It feels like more than we need, and we have decided, drum roll, we have decided that we're going to sell the bus and convert a van.
That's right. And we know that's kind of a big, it probably will come up as a little bit of a shocker. We love this lifestyle so much that we want more of it. And what we found is that, we have the bus is big enough and we put enough storage in here to thankfully keep a lot of things. But we've found that like most of the things that we're keeping in here we're not using.
Yeah.
Like I've barely gotten into the garage, and we have tubs of things in there that we haven't touched and we don't need. And so with that in mind, we're like, man, we could do something smaller that doesn't have all this unnecessary storage, that would also allow us to more comfortably have it be a newer vehicle. We got flies in here.
Where are they coming from?
I don't know. That we would get, we'd have a newer vehicle that is a bit smaller and more nimble, that we can maneuver and get to smaller campsites and feel more comfortable going up more rigorous passes that we wouldn't want to take the bus up, and we wouldn't want to put this 20-year-old diesel through it. But those are places that we want to get to and spend some time, and have the option to go to at the very least.
Yeah, and I want to say that the bus has taken us to amazing places.
Yeah.
Like, we've seen so much of this country in this thing, and it's very capable. And we've just enjoyed it so much that we want more of it. But we are planning to do a video, because we've been in the bus for a year. It's been amazing, and this is our bus anniversary video, and we want to focus on the good things, and it's been amazing. So we've planned a whole separate video all about the reasons that we're going to sell the bus for a van.
Yeah.
So we're going to do a premiere for that.
Yeah.
Because in the premiere, there's a chat board, like a message board, where we can like respond to you guys if you have questions throughout the video. So we thought that would be a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
And we're going to premiere that next week. Do we have a date yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Well,
I gotta look at my schedule.
We'll announce it. But yeah, so we're going to dive into all of that, because we know there's a lot of people out there that may be weighing their decision between whatever kind of adventure rig you're looking at. So we'll try to give you the scoop.
But the bottom line is that for our specific style of travel that we want to attain, a van would be perfect for. We think.
We think. We won't know until we try it.
We won't know, but we think. Yeah. So. Anyway.
And we're excited to do another conversion. We're gonna try to document all of that. But check out our video next week, because we're gonna get really organized and try to list all the reasons why we're making this decision, and like the pros and cons of it, because there's gonna be a lot of things we miss about this. I mean, we made this, like, a lot of our soul is in this little tiny cabin on wheels.
That's true.
So
so that's the big announcement.
We've been nervous to tell you guys.
So van life should be coming in 2020. And we'll get into all the details about what we're looking at, and some of the decisions that we've already made towards that end. But we wanted to let you guys know now. And so thank you guys so much for watching this long video. I don't know how long it is, but it's probably up there. We really do appreciate it. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a ton. And hopefully we will see you next week.
Yeah.
Look out for the premiere announcement or whatever. So hit the notification button.
Yeah.
If you want to make sure that you get that.
Because we'll only be able to answer questions live in the chat, like during the premiere. So if you have a specific question you want to ask, make sure you put that on your calendar as soon as we'll announce
it as soon as we know, but just know that it's coming. And looking forward to talking with you guys then.
All right.